Once upon a time, a carpenter picked up a strange lump of wood while mending a table. When he began to chip it, the wood started to moan. This frightened the carpenter so much that he decided to get rid of it. So he gave it to a friend called Geppetto, who wanted to make a puppet. Geppetto took his lump of wood home, thinking about the name he would give his new puppet. "I'll call him Pinocchio," he told himself. "It's a lucky name." In his basement home and workshop, Geppetto started to carve the wood. Suddenly a voice cried out, "Ooh, that hurt!" Geppetto was amazed to find that the wood was alive. Excitedly, Geppetto carved a head, hair, ears, and eyes, which immediately stared right at him. But as soon as Geppetto carved the nose, it grew longer and stayed fairly long, no matter how much Geppetto tried to cut it shorter. "Pinocchio, what's wrong with you?" he said. To his surprise, Pinocchio answered back, "Father, I'd like to go to school to learn to read and write." "If you wish to be educated, go ahead and go to school," said Geppetto. Pinocchio wanted to become educated so he could earn money to buy some new clothes for poor Geppetto, who had used all of his own money to put clothes on Pinocchio. One day, when Pinocchio was coming home from school, he met his original owner, the carpenter Giovanni, who was no longer afraid of the talking puppet. Pinocchio told Giovanni about Geppetto and his lack of money. Feeling sorry for Geppetto, Giovanni gave Pinocchio 5 gold pieces to buy clothes. When they set eyes on the gold coins, they hatched a plot, saying to Pinocchio, "If you would really like to please your father Geppetto, you should take him more coins. We know of a magic meadow where you can plant these 5 gold coins, and the next day they will have become 10 times as many coins." Then they told Pinocchio where to find the meadow. When Pinocchio got to the meadow, 2 hooded bandits, who were really the evil cat and fox, approached him. "Your money or your life," snarled the bandits. Pinocchio had hidden the coins under his tongue and couldn't say a word. Nothing the bandits could do would make Pinocchio tell where the coins were hidden. Furious at him for not talking, the wicked pair tied a noose around the poor puppet's neck and pulled it tighter and tighter. Fortunately, a fairy that lived nearby overheard everything. From her castle window, the fairy saw the kicking puppet dangling from an oak tree. Taking pity on him, she clapped her hands 3 times, and suddenly a hawk and a dog appeared. "Quickly," said the fairy to the hawk, "fly to that oak tree, and with your beak cut the rope around that poor puppet's neck." To the dog she said, "Fetch the carriage, and gently bring him to me." In no time at all, Pinocchio, looking very ill, was lying in a cozy bed in the fairy's castle. The fairy called 3 famous doctors, Crow, Owl, and Cricket, to heal Pinocchio. A very bitter medicine prescribed by the doctors quickly cured the puppet, who sat up to tell the fairy his story. Pinocchio told his story, but when the fairy asked him where the gold coins were, the puppet replied that he had lost them. In fact, they were hidden in one of his pockets. All at once, Pinocchio's nose began to grow longer. "You've just told a lie. I know you have, because your nose is growing longer," laughed the fairy. Shamed, Pinocchio began to cry. Feeling sorry for him, the fairy clapped her hands, and a flock of woodpeckers appeared to peck his nose back to its proper length. "Now don't tell any more lies," the fairy warned, "or your nose will grow again. Go home and take those coins to Geppetto." On his way home, the evil cat and fox again accosted Pinocchio. This time he could not tell a lie, and they took the 5 gold coins from him. They threw him into the sea to get rid of him, and went off merrily with his gold coins. As Pinocchio tried to swim to shore, a giant shark swallowed him. In the shark's body, Pinocchio crept down what felt like a sloping path, crying as he went, "Help! Help! Won't anyone save me?" "Pinocchio, it's you!" cried out Geppetto's voice. Pinocchio couldn't believe it. His father was inside the shark with him. Weeping with joy, they hugged each other. Geppetto told Pinocchio that he was searching for him on land and on sea. On the water, his boat capsized in a great wind, and the shark swallowed him up. They traveled back up to the shark's mouth, and, as luck would have it, this shark slept with its mouth open. Pinocchio and Geppetto walked out of the shark's mouth to freedom in shallow water. Geppetto was very weak and ill from the time inside the shark. Pinocchio worked for a farmer for days until Geppetto recovered and they could go home. Every penny he made went to pay the doctor's fees to cure Geppetto. Pinocchio never complained about the hard labor he endured to make Geppetto well again. One night after Geppetto had recovered and they returned home, Pinocchio dreamed that the fairy who had once saved his life appeared in his dream to reward his devotion and kindness to Geppetto. When the puppet looked in the mirror the next morning, he found he had turned into a handsome lad with blue eyes and brown hair. "Where's the old wooden Pinocchio?" exclaimed the young boy. "There," said Geppetto, pointing at Pinocchio. "When puppets become heroes, their looks change along with their lives." The end.